What is up, everybody? Aniello Piro, Jake Shapiro. This is your Mile High Hoops podcast right here on Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Hope everybody is doing well out there. And if you can't tell, it looks like those are some boats in the background. We got a palm tree. We've got some water. And that, of course, is because our guy, Mr. Shapiro, is live on location out there in Los Angeles ahead of a pivotal potential series clinching Game 6 between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. Shap, what's up, buddy?
You know, I'm loving life. I'm loving LA. There's a boat behind me called the Happy Hooker. I don't know what that's about, but we're excited, man. I woke up feeling good. I woke up feeling great about this Nuggets game, and I think everyone should be feeling good if they go to Mountain High Appliance. AP.
100%. If you're looking to get any appliances, Mountain High Appliance is the place to go. Proud presenting sponsor here of the Mile High Hoops podcast. But let's get into it, my friend. This has been one heck of a series. And look, it could go 7, but after Denver's performance out there in Game 5, the best performance that they've had throughout the entire course of the series, you've got to feel pretty good about Denver's chances. You know, the injury report looks pretty good as well. Michael Porter Jr. should be good to go. Russell Westbrook good to go. Jokic, of course. Jamal looking to follow it up. Give me the Jake Shapiro vibe check. I know you're not in the building yet, but have your thoughts changed since the Game 5 victory? Or are you still tracking with this Game 6?
No, I'm still riding high, right where we left you the other night on the Mile High Hoops podcast. You kind of feel like they're coming off maybe their best win of the season and their second best win of the season. It feels like this team is really starting to gel. They're finding their recipe and ways to win. The starting five, when it plays, is completely outplayed and outworked the Clippers starting five. I was watching the game back after we did the podcast the other night, and I don't really know what other cards or what other polls the Clippers have to make. Like, they're kind of out of moves. I kind of expect the Clippers to come back to their original game plan for this series tonight. And the fact that Nikola Jokic has already seen it means Nikola Jokic is going to know how to beat it. So I'm feeling pretty good about this game going into it.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. And, obviously the Clippers are pretty heavily favored in this one, which is not surprising. It's a do or die type of game, right? Win or go home for the Clippers in this scenario. So I'm expecting their quote unquote best punch of this series you would expect to come tonight. And it's been a weird series because we're a godlike Kawhi performance away from Denver, having won this thing in gentleman sweep fashion. And so I think the big thing for me that I'm curious to get your opinion on is what is the game plan tonight for Denver? You kind of talked about what the Clippers have done. Do they go back to what they did early in the series? Do they continue what they've done the last couple of games? Right. But you got the Murray flurry in Game 5. You got the Jokic game in the third quarter of Game 4. So what is it tonight? Is it a combination of the two? What are you looking for Denver to go out there and get the job done tonight?
Yeah, I think going back to Game 5, the most important thing that we covered on the Mile High Hoops podcast, outside of Jamal Murray just having an incredible shooting night, is the fact they out-rebounded them again. And they had Ivica Zubac at 5 rebounds. And the Nuggets have done a great job of, I wouldn't say controlling the glass in this series, but at least going blow for blow on the glass with the Clippers, who built a lot of their success this season on rebounding. So that's been one of the keys to this series, in my opinion, and why the Nuggets are up 3-2. Another big part of this game tonight, and we've been talking about it on the Mile High Hoops podcast, it's Christian Brown sets the tone for this team. The energy he brings, him making himself a threat on offense. It doesn't have to be with shooting. It can be getting to the rim. It can be getting downhill. It can be on the offensive glass. Just some way where someone has to mark him on that side of the ball and then completely bugging James Harden. Those are the couple things I'm looking at early tonight. Can the Nuggets win the rebounding battle in the first quarter? Can Christian Brown come out and just kind of punch them in the mouth the way he's done the last 2 games?
Yeah, and I think to kind of run with that for a second, you need to neutralize James Harden. And we understand that James Harden might neutralize himself just because he's not exactly a playoff riser. But I think if you're able to take one of James Harden or Kawhi out of the equation, and I think it's going to be easier to take James Harden out than Kawhi, I think that's obviously going to significantly increase the win expectancy for the Denver Nuggets in this game here tonight. But
Well,
There's
I mean, AP, like, think about it though. Kawhi hasn't really been a huge factor in this series outside of game two.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And so maybe Denver's figured out a way to, slow them down as best they can. Again, I think with Kawhi, Kawhi's struggles are different than James Harden's struggles. Like James Harden, you almost kind of come to expect at times, just, it's like deja vu, flashbacks of Houston, flashbacks of Philly. Like we've seen this before from James Harden. And then when you put all that pressure on Kawhi, almost like we talk about, like when you put all this pressure on Jokic, when Murray isn't playing well or MPJ's, banged up, whatever it might be, kind of a similar dynamic there as well. And this is your first time at Intuit Dome?
It's my first time. I'm very excited. It's kind of cool. AP, I was thinking about it as I flew in today, and there's so many billboards for this lawyer is sponsored by the Lakers, and this guy is the Lakers official like doctor or whatever. And I was like, wow, I should be throwing the parade down Sepulveda Boulevard about the Lakers going home last night. Like that's why I'm really in town. I'm here to stomp on the Lakers' grave.
Shout out Anthony Edwards, man. I know that Nuggets fans don't want to hear that, but gentleman's sweep for the Timberwolves. I was in a movie last night, and I came out and I saw that the Timberwolves took care of business, so that was awesome. Everyone shares a mutual disdain of the Lakers. So
that game was a movie. That game was a movie.
Yeah. So I saw the highlights, and I was like, dang, dude. So I don't know. Like, it's always a good thing when the Lakers lose. I know this is a Nuggets podcast, but you're in LA. Let's acknowledge that, right? And you know what? The Nuggets have a chance to send home the other LA team going out sorry here tonight as well. And I think I agree with you. And you mentioned that you and I are both not fully in regards to Denver can win a championship this season. But I do think if that they want to have that thought, if they want to be able to contend for a championship, if they want that belief, winning in 7's fine. But you need to go out there tonight and get the job done. Because if you do that, you get ready for Oklahoma City. You put the Thunder on watch a little bit, as opposed to kind of like, playing it up against the rim as long as you possibly could. I think it's important for Denver to go out there tonight and assert some dominance and get this series wrapped up.
Well, we know how short this Nuggets team is, right? Like how short their bench is. They're a tall team, but like in terms of depth,
Right.
they are a short team, right? So the goal in winning tonight, the reward that the Nuggets get in winning tonight is that they get an extra days of rest. The series against Oklahoma City would start on Monday if they win tonight. If they win on Saturday, whoever wins on Saturday, I should say, the series would start on Tuesday. That extra day would be so huge for the Nuggets because of not only is Nikola Jokic a different beast when he's had a couple days in a row at the pool, and MPJ gets that tan MPJ, different guy, but in reality, these guys just need some time off their legs. So I think winning tonight is going to be so huge. And another thing I was thinking about, AP, watching that game back that I didn't get to on the Mile High Hoops podcast the other night, is I think the Clippers kind of just don't have the same level of fight that they did early on in this series. And I don't necessarily know that it's a mentality thing. I think this team is kind of old and they're losing their will. And I think altitude kind of affected them. And my perspective on altitude and covering sports in this market for a long, long time is it either bothers you really early on in a game or really late in a game. And my perspective was it bothered them early. Like they were struggling a little bit to fight over screens, chase Jamal Murray around. And that's part of why Jamal got loose. Okay, so a couple days later, the Clippers are here playing again. They're not at altitude, but they're still recovering from being at altitude for a couple days. So I think there's a real chance that the Clippers come out looking very old and slow tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like they are just an older team. Like James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Nick Batum, Boban Bogdan, all these guys are over the hill. Chris Dunn is, I guess, the young guy, but he's considered, a middle-aged, NBA player.
Zubac and Dunn are 30 years old.
Exactly. So, it's an aging roster. And it's interesting because this doesn't necessarily pertain to X's and O's, but you brought it up. You do have to not worry, but question about the will of the Clippers. Like James Harden loves his offseason. James Harden loves his vacations, right? Kawhi, pretty reserved guy, but like in Kawhi's, sense, he's been there and done that. He's won multiple NBA championships, been a final MVP. James Harden has probably accepted at some point or another in his career that he might not never win an NBA finals. And so I'm not saying the Clippers are going to come out and roll over and die tonight, but I do think that if Denver is able to go out there and run up a 10-point lead at the end of the first quarter, double that into 15, 20 points going into halftime, I think you might be able to put the Clippers to bed. I don't want to sound cocky. I don't want to sound arrogant. I just think that's what Denver needs to do because they have an opportunity to kick this aging Clippers team when they're down.
No, totally. And you look at the Nuggets versus the Clippers game tonight, and to me, my thought is if this game's at Staples Center, I don't think any of that stuff is true because the crowd's not into it. There's not a crowd that matters. But to me, the fact that the Nuggets can go out there and take this raucous crowd that's in this do or die atmosphere and just silence it over the course of the first 20 minutes of the game, to me, that would give them all sorts of motivation and it would just start to lead to some really negative thoughts from that Clippers bench. You also have to put it in perspective from the Clippers side of things. We're talking about on 104 through the fan all day today. If the Avs lose tonight, do they fire Jared Bednar? I think the real talk with the Los Angeles Clippers is if they don't get it done today, is Ty Lue's head on the chopping block? Like there are some real changes that might need to be made there. And you know, the way the CBA works, it seems like now teams have to do changes over maybe 2 off seasons and a trade deadline. Well, they started making all those changes last offseason. They had a pretty productive trade deadline in moving a guy that they had in a long time in man out for Bogdan Bogdanovic. Now a couple weeks later, you know, a couple months later, they might be on part two, that step two of remaking their roster. And part of that remake might be Ty Lue. So some of these guys might be in desperation mode to the point where they know they might not be here for long. And that could lead to them coming out playing with a fury, or it could lead to them quitting if they're down 15 in the first half.
Yeah, 100%. And I've said it multiple times in the shows that we've done throughout the course of this series. Like if the Clippers, I mean, if they go down in 6, it's one thing to go down in 7. But even if the Clippers don't win this series, I mean, it's a terrible look for them. I mean, the Nuggets just fired their head coach, right? It looks like that's worked in Denver's favor ever so slightly. But like this Nuggets team is so discombobulated. You talked about the short roster as well. Like the Clippers have the experience, they have the talent, right? And so I think that also says a good thing about Denver if they're able to get out of this series because, you know, maybe you're beating this Clippers team who is one of, if not the hottest team in the NBA coming into the playoffs while you're a little shorthanded, while you're dealing with just firing your head coach. So I think, you know, that could potentially be a domino effect for the Clippers.
Let me ask you what Stokely asked me this morning. Are the Nuggets up 3-2 right now if Michael Malone's still the head coach?
Ooh, I would say yes. I would say yes.
I said no because I felt like there was a lot of quit in this team before. And what we've seen over the last 72 hours with this team is a level of resolve we did not see all season long.
It's fair. I guess my thing is I feel like I've seen them, like I saw them quit in game 3. I don't even know if they really showed up for game 3, right? Game 2 was bad. I don't know, man. I think I'm not personally going to place all of the praise on David Adelman for this 3-2 series lead. I think it was a combination of a couple different things. I think Adelman's played a role, but I think it's Russ. I think it's Jamal. I think it's Joker. I think it's MPJ. I mean, it's been a very team effort. And maybe to your point, maybe you don't get that same unified approach if Michael Malone's the head coach still, because you get that little brash abrasiveness that sometimes you get from Malone. But either way, man, it's a good spot to be in right now for the Denver Nuggets. We'll see if they can go out there and take advantage of the momentum from game 6 now.
Do you think they need to win game 6 to win this series? Because to me, after last season and the way it went, if they lose this game 6, whether it's a heartbreaker or a blowout or just a normal loss, we're coming back to Denver and we're going, oh no, not again. Like there is not a scenario that you feel like you could be up 35 in game 7. It doesn't matter. Like you're going to have that feeling. So to me, like, I don't know, because this isn't a must win. It's definitely not. Like game 7 is a must win. This is a must win for the Clippers. But in the same regard, like I kind of feel like the Nuggets got to get it done tonight.
I mean, obviously you would like to. I'll be honest, I don't think Denver's losing 2 game 7s in a row on their home court. I think Jokic and company, and I think the stuff that you put out on social media at Shapalicious of Michael Porter Jr. kind of talking about the awareness that they have going into this game, Aaron Gordon as well. I think that they've learned from their mistakes. Obviously, you want it to be done in 6. But I think if it does go 7, I will take Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world, on his home court in a do-or-die game, just like I did last year, to be honest. And obviously, I was wrong on that one, but I feel comfortable with that situation, regardless of what's happened in the past. But Jake, let's hope we don't have to get to that point. Let's hope that Denver goes out there tonight and takes care of business.
Hey, you can't spell Jamal without LA.
Incredible stuff. What are you working on? Where can they follow you on social media? What should they check out on denversports.com? How is your coverage maybe changing now that you're out there in LA?
Mile High Hoops podcast after the game tonight. We have no idea when that's actually going to happen, but me and AP will be rocking with you. Obviously, some stuff dependent on the abs on our channel as well. But we will have a podcast later tonight from the scene. I will tell you what went down in the locker room, what the mentality is as they either get ready to face Oklahoma City or they come back home to Denver for a game 7. You can follow all my coverage, all the videos I'm going to be putting out at Shapalicious. The easiest place is on X. I'm also on Blue Sky. Post most of my videos over there as well. And then the thing I'm going to tease, and maybe this is me shooting myself in the foot, but I have started working on my massive series preview in case they play the Oklahoma City Thunder. And as I said after game 5, everything that's happened in this Clippers series, I wrote about in my massive series preview beforehand. So you can get ready.
Well, he is Jake Shapiro. He's a Denver Nuggets extraordinaire. Check him out, denversports.com. Also at Shapalicious on social. I'm Aniello Piro at Media by AP. Shout out to our friends at Mountain High Appliance. And, man, what a time. Nuggets and Clippers, game 6. Jake's in L.A. Show him that marina one more time, my friend. We'll talk to you guys after the game.